Okay, we're going to start. We're going to start. We really went to the two dots on Yud Ches, but let's go back a little bit. Where did you get to?
I'm up to Yud Ches.
Okay.
I did A.
Yud Ches 8. We got okay. Yeah. Let's start from over here. The Gemara says that Shimon Apikuli, he arranged the order of the Shmon Esreis. The Gemara asked the question. We quoted a brisa. It's the wide line Yud Ches 2, 4, 6. Here, 2, 4, 6. So Gemara asks, "V'chi me'achad demei v'esem zekedim mehem kamen nevim tiknu tefila ala seder." Shimon Apikuli, my is there. It says that 120 zakenim, and among them there were a number of prophets. They're the ones who legislated tefillah on a specific order. So what do we quoted before? Shimon Apikuli is the one who had done it, right? So Mar says Shochem v'chos v'sitro, meaning it was forgotten, and he reestablished the original order that was set by the Anshe Knesset Hagadolah. Kan ve'elech, okay, we're holding there. Kan ve'elech osel l'sab b'shvochu shel mokum. But after they set what praises are permitted to be said, one is not permitted to speak the praises of Hashem to a greater degree than what they legislated. The Omer Ablozer, mi maluk v'us Hashem yashmi kol tilo. So, who could utter the power of Hashem? You have it, Albert. 18a. 18a, right over here. Over here. Right here. Okay. Mi maluk v'us Hashem yashmi kol tilo. So, mi noah lemaluk v'us Hashem. Who is it appropriate to express the power of Hashem? So if you're able to express all his praises, then it's appropriate. So who can? You can't. If a person speaks about the praises of Hashem on an excessive level, he's removed from this world. He'll be uprooted from Shenemar, Hayusupar lo, Ki adaber. Hayasupalo, could you speak about him when I will speak? Im oma ish ki yevula. When a person speaks about his praises, he will be swallowed up. That means he'll be nekar, be uprooted from the world. Dorish Rav Yehuda ish kfar giborayo, either Rav Yehuda, the man from the kfar giborayo, Varmilo ish kfar giborchayo, maidich siv l'chod demio tehilo. To you, silence is praise. Regarding Hashem, silence is praise. Samadekule mashtuka. What is the ultimate potion? Silence. Silence is the ultimate. Ki also Ravdimi Omar Amri Barova. When Ravdimi came, he said, returned to Bavel. He says, Amri Barova. You know what they say in Eretz Yisrael? Mila besela. A word, its value is a sela, is worth a coin. Mashtuka, but silence betray. Silence is two, right? Speech is what? Speech is silver, silence is golden. Okay? Now, this is where we're at. You have it? Albert, you ready? Now, what's the trouble?
Silence. What is this?
Meaning that if the times that you're not supposed to speak. There's times to speak where you're able to express it properly, but silence says it all. When you don't speak about the praises of Hashem because it's not possible, that says it all. What do you say about Hashem? Right? Could you describe him? You say, indescribable. That's it. There's nothing more to say. So the silence, not saying, says it all. You say he's ABC, but you realize once you start saying, you can't stop.
But then we should, the question is like in davening.
So over here, the Marsha, if Rashi says over here, you're not permitted to speak the praises of Hashem, Rashi says bikfius. So the Marsha says, if you, let's say in the Shmon Esrei, you want to speak about the praises in a bracha. Chazal, they said you say so many words. You want to add to that. You're not permitted. But if a person wants to say Hashem is A, B, C, D, and that, it's not a problem. Because a person has a right. But even that, let's say you go on and on, then you stop. I mean, whatever is considered appropriate. That's fine. Like in the Psukei de Zimra, David Melch sings the praises of Hashem. It's fine. But he doesn't go endlessly. Once you go beyond a certain point, no, how do you stop?
Enough and what is too much?
No, if a person understands you're only speaking part of God's praises, fine. But let's say you've spoken so lengthy, so how did you leave out? Now you can't leave out anything. That's how the Maharsha explains it. Of course a person should speak the praises of Hashem.
But once you do, then aren't you culpable for not singing all the praises?
No, that's what I'm explaining to you. If you speak like endlessly about his praises, then you can't stop. Yes, what's Hashem? He's kind. He's good. But let's say you speak for 5 minutes, you start telling me who he is. How do you stop after 5 minutes? It's pretty lengthy. It's a pretty substantial amount of time. So how do you stop after 5 minutes? Right? We see, we speak Kilucha Noah, Kilucha Yoy. It's the Seder. Adirhu, Baruchu, Gibarhu, Dogulhu. Right? We go according to the whole Aleph base. It's not a problem. Because there it's limited to the Aleph base. It's limited to the Aleph base.
That dividing line between what's enough and not too much is where I was having.
It's like something you say to her, you've spoken enough. I've heard enough. Okay. Okay. The Mishnah says, Koral Pelu Yotze. It says if a person reads the Megillah from memory, right, by heart, you're not Yotze. You have to read it from the text of the Megillah. From the Megillah, no, how do we know that if you read it by heart, from memory, you're not Yotze? Omer Rava Ashis Chira Schira. It's based on Gzera Shava. Ksiv Hocha Vayom Ha'ela Niskarim. It says these days should be remembered, right? That's what it says in the Megillah. These days should be remembered. Uchsiv Hosam. Now what about it? It says there's a mitzvah of Zechiras Mechias Amalek. Right? When we remember Amalek, where do you have to read it from? That has to be read from the Torah, right? This parshes Zohar. It has to be read from the Torah. Uksiv Hosam Ksov Zosi Koran Basefer. This should be written to be memorialized in the Sefer, meaning the Sefer Torah. Ma'alahalam b'Sefer, just as Zechiras Mechias Amalek has to be read from the Sefer Torah. Afkan b'Sefer. So here, the Megillah has to be read from the Megillah. How do we know when it says by Mechias Amalek? How do we know it means it should be read? Maybe Zochar means it should be remembered in one's mind. Dilma iyun ba'almahu. Dilma iyun ba'almahu, just to think about it, to reflect on it. Sokadait, right? Lo sokadaito. Samar says no, it's not logical. Why? Because it says Dalit. What's the Dalit here? The Tanya. Zochar yochol believe. Maybe when it says Zochar, remember what Amalek. Maybe it means just in one's mind. Shu omed lo tishkoch. It says it should not be forgotten. This is right. It says Zochar es asher osluchal Amalek lo tishkoch. You should not forget. So lo tishkoch shikras alev. I mean that's the heart. You shouldn't forget. Forgetting means in one's heart, mind. Omer hamani became Zochar. So what does Zochar mean? If the Torah already says lo tishkoch, that means that's remembering in one's mind. What does it mean, Zochar? Evidently, Zochar means bepeh. It means to verbalize it. And in what context do you verbalize it? Ksov zosi koram ba'sefer. It should be out of a sefer. Just over there, it's out of a sefer Torah. The Megillah has to be read from the Megillah. It's very good. This, we discussed back on Daf Dalid. There was a question. The Gemara says, "Noshim chayos mikra Megillah." Women are obligated in reading a Megillah. So it says, why? Because they were also beneficiaries of the miracle. They were part of it. So Tosas cited a Bahag, the Ba'alocha school says that a woman cannot be motzi a man. Cannot be motzi a man. So Tosas has a problem. If you say she's obligated, why can't she be motzi a man? Okay. So Tosas disagrees. So I mentioned then there's a sefer called Marcheshes, written by somebody who lived before the war. His name is Henech Egish. So he writes like this. Is very interesting. When you read the Megillah, rabbinically, you're doing two things, right? We ruled, the Gemara says before on where's it, Daf Dalid, that on the 14th, if one reads the Megillah without a minyan, Yotze, yes or no, Howard? There's a test if you make the rabbi in Teaneck, okay? When the rabbi is on vacation. If you, on the 14th, if there's no minyan, you want to read the Megillah yourself, are you Yotze? Privately, you can read the Megillah. Without a minyan, are you Yotze? You can read it. Why could you read it? But why could you read it on the 14th? On the 11th, 12th, 13th, everybody agrees. You have to have a minyan. You have to have a minyan. No, but why don't you need a minyan? Why don't you need a minyan? On the 11th, 12th, 13th, you need a minyan. Nobody argues. So Rashi says, because Yud Dalet is a time of pursuing Nisa. Because everybody's reading it. It's a time where a miracle is publicized. So the Marchesha says like this: when you read the Megillah, there are two mitzvahs. You're doing two things. Firstly, pursuing Nisa, you're publicizing the miracle. Secondly, it's Zechiras Mechias Amalek. By remembering what Haman tried to do us, it's the equivalent of reading in the Torah, parshes Zohar. Remember what Amalek did to us. Remember what Haman wanted to do to us. Haman being a descendant of Agag, therefore it's the equivalent of that. Okay? So therefore, so that's what you see from here. It says, how do we know the Megillah has to be read from the script, from the text? Because it says ksiva ksiva. What does it say? It says zechira zechira. It says zechira by Megillah, and it says zechira by Zoches Shashos Chol Amorik. What does one thing have to do with another? The answer is the exact same thing. Here, when you read the Megillah rabbinically, you fulfill the mitzvah of what? Zocher Shashos Chol Amorik. Therefore, that's the Gezerah Shava. It's a rabbinical Gezerah Shava over here. That's the way the Torah says. You have to. It's not enough to remember it. You have to verbalize it from a text. As we read from a text, the text is the Sefer Torah. So rabbinically, they said, rabbinically, you must remember what they did to you, and you must read it from a text. Which text? The Megillah says this. The text. Very simple. Is an scroll a Megillah? It has to meet all the criteria of what a Megillah is. Parchment, black ink, it has to be whatever a Megillah is. Okay? It's interesting. Years ago, you'd say, could you be Yotze from the Hebrew Publishing Company Megillah? You would say a printed Megillah. Could you be Yotze from the Art Scroll? Art Scroll's at another level.
I don't know the other ones.
I'm only joking with you. I get it. The investment. Okay. Korah Targum lo Yotze. It says that if you read the Megillah in Aramaic, you're not Yotze. Aramaic. Well, Targum usually means Hechi Domi. So what does it speak? What does it mean? Why aren't you Yotze? Ilema dechsiva mikro v'korelei Targum. Is it written in Hebrew? And the person, as he reads the Hebrew, he's interpreting it into Aramaic. So in fact, it's what are you reading? In actuality, you're reading it by heart. Because you're not reading, the Aramaic is not the text. The text is Hebrew. But as you read the Hebrew, you translate it into Aramaic. So it says, Hainu al per, lo tzricha. We speak the chsiva targum. It's written, the Megillah is written in Aramaic, not in Hebrew. The koreli targum. Well, I understand that. But when you hear it, it's the equivalent of reading it. You say Shemei Kona. Okay, so it doesn't make a difference. But it says, so what's Korah Targum Yotze? It's written in Aramaic, and you're reading it in the Aramaic text. So the Mishnah says, you're not Yotze. Avol Korin Osalos Balaz, but it says, people who speak other languages, they can read it in their language. So the Mishnah contradicts itself. First it says, if it's written in Aramaic, you cannot read it in Aramaic. But a person who speaks another language, whatever language he speaks, you can read it in that language. Someone wants to know. It says in the Mishnah that if you read it in any other language other than Hebrew, you're not Yotze. So how could the Mishnah say that if you speak another language, you could read it in that language? When it says you could read it in other languages, specifically Greek. We had this earlier. Greek is considered a very unique type of language. All other languages don't qualify for the Megillah. But Laz means in Greek. Hechi Domi. Again, what does it speak? Is it speaking? It's written in Hebrew. The Korele Yevonis, and he's reading it in Greek, meaning he's translating it to Greek. I know. Again, we're back to the original question. So if that's the case, the text is what? He's not reading from the text. He's reading it from memory. No, it's written. You have a Megillah written in Greek, a Greek Megillah. Kale. What do you see that Hashem called Yaakov Kale or El? El. Shenema Vikrolo Kale Elokei Olam Elokei Israel. He called him Kale Elokei Yisrael, meaning the Elokei Yisrael called Yaakov Kale. Diso Gadaito Lemizbeach Kori Le Yaakov Kale. Did Yaakov call the Mizbeach Kale? So it says Vayikra Lo Yaakov, Vayikra Lo Yaakov Mibo. It should say, and Vayikra Lo Yaakov. Yaakov called it. Vayikra Lo Yaakov. Elo Vayikra Lo Li Yaakov Kale. Right? It should say Vayikra Lo Yaakov. Elo, what's Vayikra Lo Li Yaakov? He called Li Yaakov Kale. Umikoro Kale Elokei Yisrael. Umikoro Kale. And who called Yaakov Kale? Elokei Yisrael. God called him Kale. Meisvei. It says Koro Giptis. If he read it in a language called Giptis, how does he translate Giptis? Probably Egyptian. Coptic. Okay, Coptic Christians, right? Ibris. Ibris doesn't mean Hebrew. Ibris means the language they spoke on the other side of the river. Ilmis, another language. Madis, the Mede language. Yevonis lo yotze. If you read it even in Greek, you're not yotze. So it's difficult. We just finished saying that if you read it in Greek, you are yotze, right? And here, Rav and Shmuel, here it says explicitly in the Brisa that if you read it in Greek, you're not yotze. So how do we reconcile it? So what do we have to say? Giptis legiptim, Ivris leivrim, Ilmis leivrim, Yivonim udvan yotze, meaning, if you read in another language for a person who doesn't understand the language, he's not yotze. But if the people themselves, that is the language, they are yotze. That's what the Gemara is answering. When the Mishnah says if you read it in another language, you're not yotze. If you read it in Hebrew, even if a person doesn't understand the language, he's yotze. But if it's in a language you don't understand, you're not yotze unless it's your language, unless you understand the language. So Gemara says, he says if that's the way you're interpreting the Mishnah, when it says that if you read another language, you're yotze. So if that is the case, why does Rabbi Shmuel interpret the Mishnah to say when it says laws in another language means specifically Greek? What do we say? Le'ivrim, ilmis, le'ilmin, yivon, liyotza. Meaning each person, for his language, he's yotze. Yochi, Rabbi Shmuel, amay mukvi lo masis balaz yivonis. Look, let him explain the Mishnah. When it says in the Mishnah, if you speak another language, you're yotze, it's not limited to Greek. It's limited, it's any language as long as the person understands the language. El mastis kebraisa. He said the Mishnah is like the Brisa, that you're not yotze. Meaning, the Mishnah is like the Brisa. 1 second. Giptis, meaning, current laws, right. Meaning like this. If you understand the language, you're yotze. Whatever language it may be. But if it's Greek, even if you don't understand the language, Greek is like Hebrew. That's like Hebrew. Because Greek is a special language. Itma Rabbi Shmuel Dami Tavayu, Laz Yevoni, L'Kol Kosher. That's what he says. If it's Greek, it's a valid reading for everybody. V'oktoni Yevoni is Liyevonim, ain't? L'Kuli Amalo, right? Meaning, Greek for the Greeks, definitely yotze. But for others, you're not yotze, right? Meaning, Greek in L'Kuli Amalo. On that, he says, but the inference of the Mishnah, of the Brisa, it says Greek for Greeks. You're telling me, Rav and Shmuel, that Greek, even if you don't understand the language, but it says in the Brisa, Greek for Greeks. What do I have to say, Greek for Greeks? Greek for anybody, right? On that, it says, Inu Domer Reb Shimon Gamliel. They rule like Reb Shimon Gamliel, Rav and Shmuel, Ditnan, Shimon Gamliel, Afsorb, Luitiru, Shikosu, El Yivonis. There was a question before, the Nevi'im and the Ksuvim, if they're written in other languages, it's valid. Rav Shimon Gamliel says no, it's not. It's only valid if they're written in Greek. V'leimru halocha Rav Shimon Gamliel. So if Rav and Shmuel are following Rav Shimon Gamliel's position that Greek is unique, so they should say we rule like Shimon Gamliel. So he says, Rav Shimon Gamliel. I would say that's only true regarding Nevi'im Ksuvim. It says when they send out the letters, it says according to their alphabet and the language. So I would say, even though Rav Shimon Gamliel argues, says that all Nevi'im Ksuvim could only be written in Greek, but no other language, I'd say maybe Megillah, even Rav Shimon Gamliel is agreeable that it could be written in what? In any language, because it says regarding the Megillah, according to their alphabet. And the language, no, even Megillah, it's only Greek and not any other language. Okay? Other than Hebrew. It says, what a person speaks another language, and he doesn't understand Hebrew, and the Megillah is read in Hebrew, he's Yotzei, the Mishnah says. Hebrew is different. Right? He says, but they don't understand what you're talking. How can you tell me Yotzei if you read it in Hebrew? Although he doesn't understand the language, he doesn't understand what's being read. So Maria's answer is, what about women? Do they understand Hebrew? Women don't understand Hebrew, and yet they Yotzei when they hear the Megillah. Or what about Amioretz, people who never had any schooling? They don't understand Hebrew. And the Yotzei, see that when it comes to Hebrew, even if you don't understand, it's fine. Maskevlo Ravino, Oto Anan, Ravina says, I mean, there's certain terminologies and classifications of people mentioned in the Megillah, we don't understand what it means either. Right? It says, they're the ones who were sent us to deliver the letters. Miyadinon, so what's the answer? Ella mitzvahs kriya. The mitzvah is to read it. Ubersume niso, and just to publicize the miracle. Meaning we're telling over the story of what? Of Purim. So Rashi says something interesting. When a person has a curiosity, even if you don't understand, what do? You start asking about what are they talking about? So by not understanding, and it encourages people to question and ask one another, that causes the miracle to be publicized to a greater degree. You hear it? If you understand it, you read this, you hear the story for yourself, you don't discuss it. But because you don't understand it, that's why that will cause the miracle to be publicized. Interesting rationale here. Hochanami, mitzvahs kriya u'pirsumi niso. That brings out the discussion. That causes discussion.
Like you're saying here, same thing.
Yeah, but so specifically they say Hebrew, even if you don't understand why, because since something's happening, people are going to ask, and the asking is going to cause the discussion, the story should be told over. It says that if you read it in intervals, Yotzei, in intervals. Originally, the Talmudim and the Beis Hamikdash didn't even know what the word, the Mishnah says sirug. They didn't know what the word sirugin means. Listen, same Gemara in Brachos. Shamur la'amsud Rebbe, the maidservant of Rebbe was a special lady. She was a Canaanite slave. And she was a very learned woman. Could you imagine being exposed to Rebbe Yehuda Nossi? You pick up a lot. Okay? The Kamra Lulu Rabbonon, Davi Aili Piski, Lebei Rebbe. People, groups of Talmidei Chacham would come to the house of Rebbe, but they come not all together, they come in intervals. See, she would say to them, Ad mosetem nichlosav sirugin. He says, when are you going to stop coming in intervals? So they understood from that the word sirugin means intervals. Right? You have all these lapses. Laviyadi rabbona my chalaglugos. There's a certain vegetable called chalaglugos. They didn't know what it meant. Mishnah discusses chalaglugos. You know? Shamul Amsudve Rebbe Darmale Lahu Gavro Davi Ko Mevadir Parpachini. This person who was separating this parpachini, a certain kind of vegetable. How does he explain parpachini? What? Whatever it is. Ad Mose Atom until when are you going to scatter this particular vegetable? So then they understood what chalaglugos were. Because the parpachini, they knew what parpachini was. Laviyadi Rabbona and my salslo. It says in the pasuk, salslo tromeko, that if you go and you salslo Torah, it will uplift you. Shamul Amsad Rebbe Davi Amre Laugavra Davi Mahapich B'Mazia. This person was fluffing his hair. He was coiffing his hair. Omer Lead Mose Atom Salsa B'Sarech. How long are what are you wasting your time coiffing your hair, fluffing up your hair? So meaning, if you engage in Torah and you delve into it, it will uplift you. These are Hebrew words. The Hebrew words. But they didn't know. You know, this is like classical Hebrew. They didn't know. It says you should throw upon Yishem Yehovecha. What's Yehovecha? It's Pasuk in Tehillim. Omer Rabbi Bachona. Rabbi Bachona says, Zim Badi Hautayo. He was traveling together with this Arab. with an Arab. V'ko darina tuna, and I was carrying a load. He says I was carrying a bundle. V'omali shkol yavech v'shadei gam loi. Here, so the Arab says to me, to Rabbi Chana, take your bundle, put it on my camel. So until then, he didn't know what the word yavech meant. Yeah, but when he heard the Arab saying that, he understood what it meant. Laviyadi rabonamai v'tatase b'matata hashmeid. Right? What does that mean? This is speaking about the Churban Abayis. Hashem says, I will destroy Eretz Yisrael. So it says, v'tatasi b'matata. What does that mean? To be destroyed. Shamul la'amsadvei Rebbe Davis Omer l'chaverta. You know, she was like the head servant. So she had underlings. So she said to one of the underling servants, slaves, Shkuli tatase v'tati besa. Take the broom and sweep out the house. So tatoa means a broom. So Hashem will sweep out this regarding, he will destroy Eretz Yisrael, send us in the Golas, and he will sweep them out in a way where it will be a total destruction. Ton Rabbana Koresi Run Yotze. It says in the Mishnah that if you read the Megillah in intervals, Yotze, you don't have to read it continue. Sirusin, but if you read it dislocated, disjointed, you read it backwards, not in the order, lo Yotze. Okay? That's the Mishnah. Ramuna Omer, Mishum Reb Yehuda, Av Sirugin Mshokede Ligmer Skula Choz Lerosh. What about if you read it in intervals, and the lapse of time from in the lapses, the amount of time you wait is the equivalent you could have read the whole Megillah from the beginning till the end. Even though it was only a lapse of time, you would say that's considered an interruption, you have to start over from the beginning again. That's called Kedei Ligmar Skula. Om Rav Yosef, Haloch Rabuna. We rule like Rabuna, that even though the Mishnah says if you read in intervals Yotzei, that's only if the lapse wasn't equivalent of what? Being able to read the whole Megillah from beginning till the end. Sh'omar Mishum Reb Yehuda, who had said it, name of Reb Yehuda, okay? Omar le'abayil Rav Yosef, Kedei Ligmar Skula. Now when it says, if the lapse is the equivalent that you could complete the whole Megillah, what does it mean? Let's say a person reads till the last chapter. Okay? Straight, stops before the last parak. And then he waits at the last parak, the amount of that he can read the whole last parak. Is it that amount of time is already considered an interruption? Odilma racial sefer means that you're able to read the lapse of time is you can read the whole Megillah from beginning till the end. It's irrelevant where you're at. It means from the beginning till the end. Omalei racial sefer. So Rav Yosef says to his Talmud, from the beginning till the end. The lapse of time has to be not from where you're at to the end of the Megillah. It means from the beginning till the end. So he says, because otherwise, for each person, it's a different amount. It depends where you're at. If you're in the 5th chapter, it's from the 5th chapter on. If it's this, like this, there's one uniform period of time. What is that? From the beginning till the end, whatever it takes. If you have that delay, then it's considered you've interrupted the reading. We rule like this by Kriya Shema, but we'll see in a moment, right? Person says the Shema, and then you stop in between. What's the halacha? And you stop the period that you could have said the whole Shema from the beginning till the end. It's considered an interruption, but that's only, we rule that's only if the interruption was where you couldn't continue saying the Shema. Person went into the bathroom to his bodily functions. You understand? So factually, you can't say the Shema in that location. So although you didn't speak, but because the lapse of time was the amount of you could have said it from the beginning till the end, that's considered an interruption. Okay? Omer Rabba Abba, Omer Yirmei Barabo. Rabba Abba said name Yirmei Rabbo. Omer Rav, Haloch Reb Muna. Rule like Reb Muna, that if the interruption is that you could have, the equivalent that you could have read the whole Megillah from beginning to end, that's an interruption. Shmuel Amar Shmuel says, Ein Haloch Reb Muna. We don't rule like Reb Muna. That even if the interruption is to that degree, you still don't say. It's not an interruption. And we rule this way. Besura Masni Hochi. In Surah, the text of the argument was within this context. Rav says you're not Yotzei. Shmuel says you are Yotzei. Okay? Yeah. Pumbedisa, Masni Hochi. In Pumbedisa, that's another area in Bavel, they had another Hochi. Omrav Kana, Omrav Halocha, Kreb Muna. Ushmuel Amein Halocha, Kreb Muna. 1 second. Rav Bibi Masni, but Rav Bibi had it just the opposite. His text read to the contrary. Rav Amein Halocha, Kreb Muna. Rav says we don't rule like Rav Muna. Shmuel Amar Halocha Rav Muna. Rav Yosef. So Rav Yosef says, the quote Rav Bibi Biodoch. Rav Bibi is the authentic text. Here, Rav Yosef says you should. Why? the Shmuel. The Chayshlich, Shmuel always assumes the more stringent opinion. He always assumes the more stringent opinion, Shmuel, regarding the non. What's the case? Shemer Siyav Shekidish Isha. Excuse me, Shekidish Ochiv Hisachosa. What happens like this? A brother dies, he has a wife. Okay? Childless. They're 5 brothers. Now, so what's the halacha? She's a woman in waiting. She's bound to every one of the 5 brothers. One of the brothers, let's say the eldest brother, the mitzvah is the eldest brother should either do one or 2 things. Either perform yibum or give her the release, what we call chalitza. Let's say before he had a chance to do one or the other, one of the brothers marries the sister of the widow. Any one of the living brothers marries a sister of the living, of the widow. So wait 1 second. He did it. Just kedushin. Just kedushin. Not, he didn't consummate the marriage. Give her a ring in front of witness, harei mukdeshesli. Okay, the sister. So at this point, he can't, this brother cannot do yibum. Correct? Because it's achosishto. It's a sister-in-law. Even though there is a bond between the widow and him, but the bond still is in place. Let's say he consummates the marriage. If he consummates the marriage, then that bond is severed. It's the wrong thing for him to. We tell him, you got to wait. We don't want you to consummate the marriage, because since there is an attachment between you and the widow, first allow your brother to do one or the other, because that will designate exactly where she stands. But you should not, because if you consummate the marriage, what are you doing? The linkage between the widow and you're severing it. In what way are you severing it? Not through yibum, not through chalitza. You're doing the wrong thing. That's Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira. We'll see. Did not shomer siyav shkidish ochav isachosa bishur Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira omru omrim lo. We say to the brother who married the sister, hamti na chiasos achicha hagodol ma'isa. We say to him, to the one who married the sister, don't consummate the marriage until your older brother does his action, whether it's yibum or chalitza. Amar Shmuel, Shmuel says halach Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira. So that's a stringent opinion. Others disagree with him. Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira. Shmuel rules like Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira that he should wait and not consummate the marriage until the older brother does either yibum or chalitza. Ton rabbanon. No, she's. That's it. One brother, freed. No, she's not allowed. No, one brother gives chalitza, that she's gone. Ton rabbanon. Hishmit bo sofer osios o psukim. Let's say the sofer wrote the Megillah, he left out psukim or letters, and as a result of that, when he read the Megillah, he had to read that pasuk that wasn't there by heart. We said koral pelo yotza. If you read by it, you're not yotzei. Here, the sofer left out omitted letters or psukim, but the vast majority of the Megillah was on the parchment. The halacha is yotzei. Hishmi v'sofer osius of psukim v'koran hakorei kimeturgman. So he had to read it like what? Like an interpreter. Hamatargim yotzei yotzei. Why? Because since the majority of the Megillah was committed to writing, meisvei, we learned in the Braisa, hayu osius mitushtoshos, if the letters were smudged on the parchment, not legible. O mekuros, or they were torn, the parchment was torn and the letter wasn't legible. Im rishuma nika kshero, if the smudge where you still could read the letter, it's valid v'lav psula. So the question is, why? We just finished saying that even if psukim were never written, or letters were omitted, and you read it by heart, yotzei. So why, if you have smudged letters, it says you have to still be able to read the letter. And if you can't read the letter from the text, you're not yotzei. Lokasha, no problem. If the majority of the Megillah, all the letters are smudged and they're illegible, so in actual, what are you doing? You're reading it by heart. You're reading the majority of the Megillah by heart. But if it's a minority of the Megillah, where the letters are smudged, or the letters were never written, or the psukim were never written, even though you have to read those psukim by heart, the halacha is what? Yotzei. This is what the Mishnah Berurah says, la halacha, it's better, each person should have his own Megillah, kosher Megillah. Even though we yotzei from the Baal Koreh who reads the Megillah, you should read from a kosher Megillah, not from a chumash. Why? Because it's inevitable. What happens if you miss a word? When you have a Megillah, usually you read along. So let's say you miss a word from the, from the Baal Koreh. So if you have a chumash, it's not a problem, right? Even there, because it's no worse than koral peh. And since how much don't you listen to? The majority you listen to from the Baal Koreh. So you may miss a word. So if you're reading it in the chumash, that word at least you're getting. But what happens if you read it from the Chumash and you don't pay attention to the Balkari? People that follow the Chumash, then it becomes a problem. Because you're reading it from a text that's not a valid text. What about if you're reading it from a kosher Megillah? See, even if you miss, let's say the vast majority didn't pay attention, doesn't make a difference. But since you read it from your text, which is a kosher text, the Yotzei, because you read it from a Megillah. You follow what I'm saying? Very often when you read, you follow, you read along in a not audible sound level, right? If you're reading from Chumash, and let's say sometimes by reading it, you're not paying attention to the Balkori. So how are you Yotzei? You can't say Yotzei before you read in the Chumash. It's not a valid Megillah. Right? It's not valid, even though you said all the words. It's like you read it by heart. You have to read it from the text. But if you have a kosher Megillah, even if that may happen, it doesn't make a difference, because factually you read from a kosher Megillah, because you had a Megillah in front of you.
You read the part that you didn't. You weren't paying.
It doesn't make a difference, but whatever you did, but you did read, you read it all. Right?
That means you've got to be reading all of it. When you're reading it there, you've got to read all of it.
We're talking, you do read all of it. But let's say the majority, somehow you were out of touch with the Balkori. Also, it's not a problem. Because factually you read it from a kosher text. So you're always playing it safe if you have a kosher Megillah in front of you. And you follow. And you follow. It's a story many years ago. There was a Megillah reading. It was on Motzei Shabbos in Baltimore. The story goes back maybe 38 years ago. And after the Balkori read it, it was Motzei Shabbos. It was late already. So we didn't finish Mekriyas Megillah about 11 o'clock, whatever it was. So after he finished reading, somebody said he left out a hey. He should have said ha something. He said it. Okay? Okay, and this person read it. He was very adamant. He said it. Okay, he said it. Somebody had made a tape of the Kriya, of the reading, of that reading. All of a sudden, 1:45 in the morning, somebody listened. He did not say it. Yeah? People already went to sleep that night. You understand? By tomorrow morning, it's too late. You know? They woke up the whole yeshiva. Married couples. I remember my parents, they were there for Purim. We all got up, came to the base measure, 1:32 in the morning, and we had a new Kriyas Megillah, 2 in the morning.
The whole Megillah.
They had to do the whole Megillah. Start without a bracha. Started from the beginning.
The break had been too long.
No. Firstly,
Well, they
he
could have read
from that point going forward.
They could.
They'd have to read they just couldn't read that word.
No, but they could have
Read from that going forward.
But the break is already
Whatever, they read the whole Megillah. They started from the beginning, read the whole Megillah. He read it very fast. No banging for Haman. 2 in the morning, you don't bang for Haman. How would it have been? They would have had his trumpet. Okay. He would have woken up everybody with the trumpet. Is it taps or is it reveille? Okay.
2 in the morning, I'm not sure which one you play.
You're disturbing the peace. Go ahead.
And with enough to drink, you would know even less.
I prefer to read a sentence or paragraph and kind of simultaneously translate words. People paragraph and then someone translates to English. And then you continue with.
You shouldn't, because you're not supposed to speak until it's finished. You're not supposed to speak.
So it could be a second person? No.
Yeah, but how if the Balkari stops? But if the Balkari keeps going, he's translating. So where does it leave you? Okay.
The Balkari cannot stop translating.
No. Right. Torah Rabbanon. Yeah. Torah Hishmet bo hakori posuk echod. Yeah. The Balkori left out a posuk. Lo yomer ekras kulo v'akach ekros a posuk. Yeah. Balkori's reading. He skipped the posuk. Then he says, they tell him stop. He says, you know something? When I finish, I'll go back read the posuk by itself. But then it's out of order. It's out of sequence. Right? Elokori mosa posuk. No, he has to read from that. Go back to where he left out the posuk and go forward from that posuk onward. Nichlas basic knesset umotzet tzibur shekoru chetzio. Hear this. A person comes into what's his name? Into shul, comes late. They're 50% into Kriyas Megillah. So you know what he says? I'll listen to the last half, and when they're finished, I'll go read the first half myself. Right? Lo yomar ekro chetzio matzibur. The second half I'll hear with the tzibur. V'akach ekro chetzio, and then I'll read the first half. Elokorios mitchilos at sof. He has to read it sequentially from the beginning till the end. Same idea. Mistamnim yotz. It says that if while the Megillah is read, you doze off. Right? How could you be yotz if you didn't hear the words? So what is the meaning of you're dozing? This is like when I give a shir sometime. Okay? I speak to Howard. Howard, did you hear what I said? He says the words exactly. So I mean, that's what we're talking about. He's awake and he's not awake. Semi-awake. What is that? If you call him, you say, Howard. He answers. But they ask him anything more than what was said, the level of understanding, that he's not able to. And if you try to remind, did he hear? He'll remember that you spoke to him. Some people say they don't even have a faint memory. Okay. If he was writing it, he was delving into it, and he was correcting it. The Mishnah says, if you have in mind to be yotze, yotze. Is he's writing as he says the psukim, he's writing it. He doesn't have a Megillah. Let's say he knows the Megillah by heart. He says the pasuk, then he writes the pasuk. You're not yotze, right? He first writes the pasuk, then he reads it. Right? You have to have the whole Megillah. The whole Megillah has to be there, right in front of you. Even if the one says from Mishihudi, but the whole Megillah has to be written, at least from Mishihudi or B'Shushan Abira. So how could you tell me if he writes a pasuk first and he reads it? Excuse me. Here what's going to happen. He has a full Megillah in front of him. The Kori Lei, and he's reading from that Megillah, Psuka, he reads one pasuk, the Kosav line. After he reads the pasuk, he writes that pasuk on another piece of parchment. Understand? He has a full Megillah to his right, then he has a blank piece of parchment in front of him. Writes okay? Le Messiah Le. The Rabbi Barchana. Maybe this will be a proof to Rabbi Barchana. Now, when you write a Megillah, are you permitted to write the Megillah by heart, or it has to be written from a text to make sure you're not making a mistake? Wait. That's what Rabbi Barchana says. The Omer Rabbi Barchana, Omer Rabbi Yochanan, also lichtovos achas shlomin aksav. Person, a sofer writes a Sefer Torah, he's not permitted to write it by heart, from memory. Because in terms of the accuracy, to guarantee the accuracy, it has to be written from a valid Sefer Torah. Yeah. Why Dilma Disrami? So Mer says no proof. There's no proof from here. Dilma Disrami is Ramuye. Yeah. It happens to be that's the way he was doing it. I'll tell you, Mikra Adin by Megillah, it doesn't have to be written from a written text. Person knows it by heart, it's good enough. Why did it work out that way? That's happened to be the way he was doing it. As he read one pasuk in the Megillah, he was transcribing it onto a piece of parchment. You're not permitted to even write one letter unless it's transcribed from a written text. There was an incident Reb Meir, yeah, he went to Asia. He went to Asia to determine that the year is going to have a leap year. And in Asia, he didn't find a Megillah. It's like going out to the Hamptons. Not simple, you find a Megillah out there. The Kosva Milibo, and Reb Meir knew everything by heart. Everything was, right? He wrote it from memory. The Korah. So what did he do? First he wrote it from memory, and then he read it from the text. But the question is, how did he do it? Whenever, according to Rabbi Barchana, name of Rabbi Yochanan, anytime you write any one of the Tanakh, it has to be from a text. How did Reb Meir do it from memory? Omalei. Omar Rebu, Shadi Reb Meir, D'Mekayim Leiv, Avapecha Yashiru Negdecho. That your brow is always before your eyes. Meaning, Reb Meir, he had the whole Torah before his eyes. It's as if he was reading from a text. That was Reb Meir's dimension of person. But for an ordinary person, who not like Reb Meir, he couldn't do it. Reb Meir was the exception. What is the meaning? What is it referring? The apapecha, what's by your eyebrows, will be straight before you. It's referring to Divrei Torah. Meaning that if you keep your mind on Divrei Torah, the Divrei Torah are intact. That if you turn a blind eye on Torah, it immediately, it disappears. It escapes you. Reb Meir, there wasn't a moment that the Torah wasn't fully engraved in his mind continuously. Rav Chisda Ashkel or Rav Chananel, Davikosov Svarim Shlomin Aksav. Yeah, Rav Chisda came from Rav Chananel, and he was writing Svarim, Tanakh, not from a text. Amalei, Ruya kol Torah kula kosav apicha. Really, the whole Torah, you're worthy, you could write it. But they said you're not permitted. So that he said to Rab Chananel that the Torah is appropriate, should be written through you. So here we find a person who was fully proficient, and still he says you're not permitted to do it. We don't make exceptions. Here we say Rameir was permitted to because he had it emblazoned in his mind. But here, Rav Chananel was criticized, although it was the same thing. On that, the Gemara says, Rameir kosav shasat chakshani. What happens if you have it completely committed without a question, and you have no choice? You have no text. Is it better not to read the Megillah? So, of course, he was a shasat chak. He had no choice. Therefore, he wrote the Megillah. This Bei Bar Chovo, he was a sofer. He allowed him to write tefillim mezuzahs, even not to copy it from a text. Kemad ke'aitano detan remiri om mishum rabbeinu tefillim mezuzahs nichtov shlom min aksav vein tzrichas sirtut. And also, they don't have to be scored. They don't have to be scored. Tefillin doesn't have to be scored, and the mezuzah don't have to be scored. But we rule out tefillin ain't tzrichas sirtut. Tefillin, the lines don't have to be scored. The parchment, mezuzah is tzrichas sirtut. But a mezuzah, if you take a look at a mezuzah, it's first scored, then you write Idi v'Idi. The reason is because since it's something which is committed to everybody's memory, and the likelihood of mistake is remote, therefore, but let's say Megillah, or the Torah, or Nevi'im, and Ksuvim, which a person doesn't say day in and day out, is therefore that has to be written transcribed from a text. It's very interesting. The halacha is, and this is the way it's said in Shulchan Aruch, that the written law, Devarim something from the written law you're not permitted to say from memory. Kriyas Torah, you can't be Yotz Kriyas Torah unless you read it from text. Why? Because it's Devarim Shebachsav. Anything from the written law, from the written text, you're not permitted. So how do we say Kriya Shema by heart? There's certain things we say by heart. So the Shulchan Aruch says, since it's something that we say day in and day out, and it's committed to memory, and the likelihood of making a mistake is unlikely, therefore that's the reason why we're permitted to say it from memory, even though it's the Devarim Shebachsav, although it's part of the written text. So it's the same idea here. The reason is, normally you're not permitted to transcribe it from memory, because it's not transcribing. But Tefillah Mezuzah, since it's something which we say day in, day out, those parshes, therefore, since the likelihood of mistake is remote, therefore, even from memory, you're permitted to write Tefillin and Mezuzah. To be continued.